I'm going to be teaching how to create this mushroom. Now the tools I have laid out here are the ones that I used to create this mushroom. This is a double ball pointed tool that I used to connect two pieces together. Now this next tool is just a needle that I used to make small details and the gills underneath the cap. This is a triangular cylinder that I used to create the mushroom caps. I'm not sure what it's called, but it works amazing for these. I also like to use this X-Acto pen knife. It's a lot safer than the other ones, but it's perfect for getting small details that I can't get with any other tool. This is liquid Sculpey clay. You'll see what I'm going to be using it for later, but it's in the color beige. I also love to use the translucent one. So the clay that I use for these mushrooms is the Sculpey 3 oven baked clays. This is the only brand I've ever used and my favorite. I use the color white for this specific mushroom. We're going to go ahead and cut 3 bars of this Sculpey clay. It should be more than enough for this project. Start netting the clay to make it a lot easier to work with. You're going to want to roll the piece of clay into a ball to prepare it for the next step. Start rolling the ball on only one end to create a small to large size. It's a little bit hard to explain, but here you can see that the end of the ball is smaller than the other, and that's what you want to create the mushroom stem. If you're not satisfied with the size of the stem and it's too large for you, you can go ahead and cut it with the X-Acto knife. Now you can grab any tool to do this, but you just want to roll the top part to make it flat. You can also use the same tool to roll out the bottom and make it smoother. Now let's begin with the mushroom cap. You're going to want to roll another ball, and once that ball is rolled, place it down flat and start pushing on the sides to create a tip in the middle. Once you've done that step, this is what the mushroom cap should begin to look like. Now you're going to want to take your triangular cylinder and press down into the center of the mushroom cap. Don't push it all the way through, only halfway. Keep the tool in the center and start rolling it outwards. I've tried many different ways to create mushroom caps, but so far this has been my all-time favorite. Grab a tool to start rolling out the top of the mushroom cap to create a much smoother shape, and it also makes the center of the mushroom cap pointier. To create the mushroom gills, take a needle and start drawing lines underneath. It's time to combine the mushroom cap and the mushroom stem together. Make sure to place the mushroom stem in the center of the mushroom cap. Using the double ball pointed tool, make sure to use the smaller side and start pressing the mushroom stem onto the mushroom cap. Move the tool in a downward motion to combine the two pieces of clay together. The eye pin is going to go in the center of the mushroom cap, right where the point is. And you're going to want to press it slowly with minimal pressure, just to not distort the shape of the mushroom cap. With a tiny piece of clay, we're going to cover the small opening that the eye pin left on the mushroom cap. It gives a much cleaner look and prevents it from moving around too much. With the X-Acto knife, you're going to want to create slits, but in an upward motion to lift the little pieces of clay that you're cutting. It's going to give it more depth. I like to carve out a little piece of the stem to make it look like a snail had just taken a bite out of it. For the bottom part of the stem, you're going to want to do the same as you did with the slits, moving upwards, but this time you're going to line it all around the mushroom stem, and you're going to do that 3 times. Now the mushroom is almost ready for baking. For this last step, I use the liquid Sculpey clay, and I place it right under the mushroom cap to combine the stem and the mushroom cap together. You can use a needle or this tool to put the liquid clay underneath the mushroom cap. I personally like adding liquid clay underneath the cap because it binds the two pieces together and it creates a much stronger hold. With the X-Acto knife, I create slits in the mushroom cap. I was looking at photos of mushrooms in the forest, and I've seen a couple of them that have these slits, and I thought that they looked pretty cool. The mushroom has not been baked and the liquid Sculpey clay has hardened. You can see that it's a little darker than it initially was. If you don't like that, you can use liquid Sculpey clay in the color translucent. For the paint, I use acrylic, and this is the brand I use. I'm not going to be using this color pale pink, but it's a lot cleaner than my brown bottle that I use constantly, and that's the color that I'm going to be using for this mushroom. This one's just a lot nicer. The color is burnt umber. Before we get started with the painting, I like to have tissue paper, some water, and I use the cap as the paint palette. Now I like to use my old makeup brushes to blend the acrylic paint. I find that it blends the acrylic colors a lot better than regular brushes. Make sure not to grab too much acrylic paint and wipe off the excess on the palette. Start off in the center of the mushroom, and generally what we want to do is make the top part darker than the bottom. So we're doing like an ombre look from dark brown to light brown. For the bottom of the mushroom stem, you're going to want to take the excess acrylic paint that was left on the paintbrush and start blending it in there. You want it to be light brown, not too dark. Now for the very bottom, you do want it to be darker, so put a little bit more acrylic paint down there and just blend it on the bottom. Grab a thin brush that you don't care to destroy, because we are going to be pressing it down into the water and the napkin to loosen up all of the hairs and separate them. Now that the hairs are dispersed, you're going to want to dip it into the brown paint very lightly with minimal product on there. This step is optional, but dab the brush onto the mushroom cap to create these little dirt dots. Now with the same brush you used on the mushroom cap, you're going to want to put a little bit of acrylic paint and rub it onto the mushroom gills. You're also creating an ombre effect under the mushroom gills, making the center of it darker than the outer. To cover the orange translucent clay, grab some of the brown paint and dab it right on there. If you don't like the orange and you don't want to have to do that, you can easily use translucent liquid clay. And now we are all done with the mushroom necklace.